God is love. And if I say I know God and I don't love, then 1 John 4 says I'm actually a liar, Wow, you know. But that's good that God will talk to us like that. And so God is love, and then we learn love. I really believe we have to learn it. I don't think it's that natural. It's not natural. There's natural loves. Um, I could ask Pastor Love here. Pastor Love is here. I don't mean to throw it off by his name, but Pastor Love, I've said in service the other day that the first girl I fell in love with as a little boy was Snow White, and watching the movie Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And I want to ask you, yeah, who was that for you? Third grade teacher. Okay. I mean, it's a natural thing. It's a natural thing. But when you are a born again Christian and the Spirit comes into your heart, and you actually start to love people, and you start to think about them and are somehow available to be supportive of them, to care about them, to think about them. This is a beautiful change in the heart, and we read about it in 1 Corinthians 13. One thing about it is that God really wants us to know that He loves us, that this is very important to us, that how much does He love us and what kind of love is that, and that it is in His mind. And so when we read in the doctrines, and here we have in Romans 8, a very important chapter, because we see the mind behind all the goodness and what God has done for us through Christ. And we see what is in His mind regarding you and me, and that He wants us to know that He is for us. He is for us. He is for us, right? So we could start in 28, verse 28, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love God. Now, that's another way, in my mind, it's another way of saying those that are saved. In this context, all things work together for good to them that are saved. Now you might say, what it doesn't say that. It says, for those that love God. That's what it says. But that sounds like there's a condition of me loving God. If I'm a Christian and I am not loving God, then it doesn't work for good. So it's not what it's saying. It's saying that if you've been chosen, if you've been called, if you've been elected, if you have been justified, you are saved. And in that case, then everything in your life is going to work together for good, because you will be conformed to the image of Christ. This is what the hardship happens. This is what happens to us in the plan of God. If you look at 28, to them who are called according to His purpose, that's being saved. We are called. Why can we say that? Because verse 29, He explains it. For whom He did foreknow, He also did predestinate. Now, these are theological words that could be explained, but one of the things to note here is that in all of these words, you are not an active part precipitating the word. You're not making it happen. Did you make God foreknow you? No, He foreknew, because that is in God. But that wasn't you precipitating that effect. He did it on His own. When he predestinated you, did you cause that predestination? No. That was done by God alone. The next word, third word. For whom he did foreknow, them he did predestinate to be conformed to the image of his Son. This is not the third word. This is not the word that I'm referring to. We'll look at it in a minute. But he predestinated you, to finish the sentence, to be conformed to the image of his Son. This is what he is purposed to do in his plan. This is what will happen to you and I. We will be like Christ. That day is coming. We will be like him. Is there any evidence of that today, that I am like Christ, I'm conformed to his image? Maybe. Maybe in some measure you might see it. Maybe you don't see it. Maybe it isn't even there, obvious to you. But it is in his plan that this is ultimately what happens. We will be conformed to the image of Christ. So when we see him, we will be like him. 1 John 3:1. We are being made like Christ. Why? Because this is the family. We have a family. Lineage. We have a family character. We have family commonality. We are family. We are. There's a Finnish word, and I don't know Finnish, but Anna knows it probably. Is it vika? Do you know? Anna, what it means is there's a particular trait or an error that's in a family. Like there's a and I think of it like in a car, because that's, happens that this particular model has a weakness in this area. Its transmission often breaks down, or that the door handles break or something, So in life, there are those things that we may pick up in our family line, that in our family line we may have this thing. It doesn't really matter the Finnish word. Yeah. What's that? Vika? Oh, is it? Did I explain it kind of like a fault? Yeah. Oh, okay, good. Well, the word, the Finnish word isn't as important. I guess the fact that I got a hold of the idea when I was living in Finland, and I learned that word, and I see it in a family. I see it in a design. I see it with cars. I see it in life. And that's like all through life. Except with Christ, we are conformed to his image, and there isn't any. We have been made perfected. We are perfected. God has predestinated that to happen for us, that we will be like him. That's a great thing. So this is love. Verse 30. Moreover, whom he did predestinate, them he also called. Again, did you do that, or did God do that? He did that. Whom he called, them he also justified. Who did that? Did you do that, or did God do that? God did that. And whom he justified, them he also glorified. Who did that? Did you do that? God did that. 5 words, all of them that are done by God. What's the meaning? He loves you. He loves you. This is sure. This is at the very heart of the gospel. There is nothing like it. I think C.S. Lewis said one of the reasons he became a believer, because nobody could invent this. All the other religions of the world are so different from this. This could not be invented by man. This had to come from God. That God did all of this for us. That we are recipients of it, and it's a guarantee Therefore, whatever happens in your life, all of it is working together, where the end result is that you will be conformed to the image of Christ, because this was decided by God and by God alone. So then he goes on and says, what shall we say about this? Verse 31. What shall we then say to these things? If God be for us, who can be against us? I like the whole idea of being shocked or surprised by something wonderful. Like maybe looking at the Grand Canyon. I've never been there, but I can imagine, like, whoa, what can we say about this? What could we say about this? Or if somebody gets an enormous amount of money that solves all the kinds of problems in their life, like Betty Savasik, for example. Hey, wait, what shall we say about this? Or the resurrection of the dead. What could we say? That Lazarus was raised from the dead, or a blind man is healed, or a leper is cleansed. What can you say about it? Isn't that amazing? The general Naaman, who was from Syria, he had leprosy, and it says he was a very, very wealthy man, very powerful man. He was a commander. He was well respected by the king. He was well known. He had everything going for him except one thing. When he took his shirt off, he had leprosy. It's like a great visual. I have everything going for me except, if you really looked into my life, I'm a leper. And you know what? Everybody has that. Even Taylor Swift. Sorry to bring that up. It's more like a joke. Okay, so I don't understand. But anyway, everybody has some vika, Everybody has something. But when you are told that's not the case, what shall we say to these things? And so verse 32, if he spared not his son, but delivered him up for us all, how shall he not with him also freely give us all things? What's all things? Well, all things spiritual, many things in our experience. I'm a big believer in stopping and thanking God all the time. If you ever move to a new house, you stop in the parking lot, or in the driveway. you turn on the water. You just, somebody gets married, some child is born, somebody has a good friend. You go on a trip and you come back home, and that the whole life, so many things are given to us from God. He does do this. He gives us so much, and to be thankful for it is a big part of love. Love will just stop and just worship. Love is a big part of your new life. You are a worshiper. Yeah, we are like that. So I think that's enough. We've got a lot of great verses there. Verse 33, who shall lay anything to the charge of God's elect? Being accused, being guilty, failing. I have failed you. And the Lord would say, recognize that, forgive us, and love us, and never stop. We might fail each other, but Lord we will learn to love. We will learn to give grace. We will learn to forgive, and we'll learn to go on. Somebody told me after one of my messages, I want to finish here, but this is good for the marriage seminar this weekend. I talked about starting to hate your husband, or starting to hate your wife, or like getting upset about them, and then building a case, like getting blinded in your mind. And after the service, somebody came up to me and they said, that can happen with somebody's husband. that they would really start to hate them, and that they are snoring at night. And the snoring, before it didn't bother me, but now it drives me crazy. And now I hate the way his clothes. I hate the way he is, his bad breath in the morning, the way he doesn't clean up after himself, the shower he takes, the shower he doesn't take, and the way the refrigerator is. Everything goes on and on and on. And then I can't even stand him. I can't stand looking at him. How we can change, and how love means that I won't allow myself to have an attitude, but I would like to build with love. I would like to think the best. I want to. Oh, my husband is so funny. He's like, the way he's so cute, the way he throws things around, and the towels are wet towels on the floor. And what a slob, I mean, no, he's not like how my husband. God gave me such a wonderful man, such a wonderful man. Wow, isn't that amazing? So, good lesson. I think it is. If the Lord treats us like that, you might say, yeah, but he's God. Yeah, but we want to know God. And the same God that thinks this way about us is the God that is in us and wants to teach us how to love each other. Amen. Okay, pour some love on your neighbor. You're dismissed.